Hello and welcome to In Suspense, a brand new video podcast for fans and writers of crime fiction. I'm Lesley, author of The Rumour and Who Did You Tell, and my co-presenter is Lauren North, author of The Perfect Betrayal, and if you're in America, I think it's called The Perfect Son, and her latest One Step Behind, which we'll be talking about very soon. And actually, it's out today. I mean, it isn't really, because we're recording this on Sunday, the 31st of August. But by the time this podcast drops, I think that's the correct terminology, isn't it, Laurie? I'm not sure.
I think we'll pretend, shall we?
By the time this drops, it will be Thursday, September the 3rd. So it will be your publication day then, won't it, Laurie? So happy publication day.
Very excited about it. Yes, happy publication day. Yes, to me. I'll be eating cake on the day. So we'll pretend I'm having some cake.
So this is our very first podcast. As I said, we're very new to it. We're a little bit scared. That's why we're pre-recording and not going out live, because that would be far too terrifying. So we are, as we said, we're very new. My technological prowess is virtually non-existent. So all those nice little opening credits and closing credits are all down to my very clever friend Laurie. And the drumming, that music is brilliant. Laurie, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you'd actually done that drumming yourself.
You really don't know my music level skills there then, Lesley. I managed to rustle that up from somewhere, all copyright free, obviously. Yes, I think let's let the readers and listeners and watchers decide what my skills are like before we start.
I can just picture you sat in your bedroom behind a drum kit. That's all. You know, that's what I imagine you beating out the theme tune. But you've disappointed me.
For next week, and we'll see how that goes. But maybe I can do London's Burning on a recorder, and that's pretty much the level of my my musical talent. Certainly can't sing for anything. But it is really exciting to be doing this podcast, and now such a great time, I think, with just coming out of some of lockdown. You know, so many people have been at home, and I know from my own experience that I had only my family around me, and there's only so many conversations I can have about things that my children like. So having Holly and Gillian's Honest Authors podcast and the Writer's Routine, they really just helped me get through some challenging days, and they always do. And I absolutely love listening to podcasts in the car, and I think it feels really exciting to be putting one out there now and to be talking about things that are happening in the book industry that are going to affect us. I think it's such a great thing to be talking about, and not to mention our very exciting guests that we've got coming up this series. So there's lots to look forward to. So I really hope we can give something back with this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have got some exciting guests. We'll talk about that a bit later. But what we thought we'd do is each show, which we hope to bring out once a fortnight, and I think we're going to have 6 episodes in the first season. And what we're going to do is talk about a different sort of writing related topic each week, as well as sort of witter on about other things as well, as I'm sure we will do. One writing related topic and hopefully one guest each episode. We won't have a guest today because this is just a sort of introduction, a taster, if you like, of what's to come. I mean, we may not have any listeners or watchers at all, but I think, Laurie, you said your mum would watch us. So
I think my mum, I might, if she can figure out YouTube, then she will.
And your dog will watch.
Yeah, actually, he's a special guest already. If you like, please ignore the mess. But he's just there. So I'm just sorting out my study because I'm going to paint my wall behind me purple today with my daughter, and I've got a big bookshelves coming that's going to cover the back wall. So I've only got this tiny little bookshelf, you see. So so no guests today, but apart from Rodney the dog. So I think we'll find our feet today and then invite someone next week.
Right. Okay. So our first topic this week is actually the autumn crush, which isn't our latest love infatuation, but the name that's been given for the sort of avalanche of new titles that are due to be published in autumn, in September and October. I mean, it's always a busy time this time of year for publishers. Lots of new titles coming out in that important sort of run up to Christmas. But this year, obviously, with COVID-19 and all the books being delayed, there's literally loads and loads coming out. I mean, I've tried to get the exact figures, but I mean, it's meant to be beginning with upwards of 230 trade titles coming out on the 3rd of September. And the article in The Guardian that I read in August said almost 600 hardbacks are due to be published on the 3rd of September. So that is a huge number of books.
Massive number, yeah. Especially when you think of shelf space in supermarkets, and they've got those sort of 3 bookshelves. It does feel like a huge number of books to be coming out.
Yeah, it's a very, very busy time for everybody, for publicists and booksellers, and a very worrying time for authors, having to sort of compete with all those titles coming out at the same time. And of course, review space in newspapers is limited, isn't it? So lots of novels that perhaps would have got space, reviews, may not do. They may not get the attention that they deserve, which is sad. However, as Emma Curtis said, she tweeted to us recently, we've got a new Twitter account, by the way, @InSuspensePod, so do get in touch if you want to drop us a line. But Emma, when I was talking about, the topic for this week, she said, what was she actually said? Let's be positive. September is going to be a magnificent explosion of fabulous books, which is absolutely true. So hopefully there'll be something for everyone. And Emma's book is also out on the 17th, Keep Her Quiet. I think we've both read that, haven't we?
Yes, absolutely loved that book. It was a fantastic example, I think, of a why done it, which you don't see that often. It's always about the who, but it was a why, and I loved it. Raving about it all the time.
I loved every page of that. It kept me up late at night. It was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, Emma Curtis, Keep Her Quiet, due out on the 17th of September. Highly recommend that one.
Yes, from both of us, yes.
But I thought we'd first of all, look at some of the big names that are out, and then we'll move on to perhaps some debut novelists or newer, lesser known novelists. But the ones that have caught my attention, I'm really looking forward to the new Anne Cleeves. I love Anne Cleeves. And her latest is called The Darkest Evening. And that's out on the 3rd, and it's published by Macmillan. And it's the 9th in the Vera Stanhope series. And apparently there's going to be an 11th series on the TV coming out next year. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? Fantastic. I heard Anne interviewed about this novel recently on another podcast, actually, called the Blood Brothers podcast. And it was a really good interview. She's such an interesting lady. I was really lucky enough, actually, to interview her at the Frinton Literary Festival last year.
Wow.
I felt really nervous, actually, because
she's
such a big name, and I've always been a great fan of hers. But she was fantastic. The audience loved her, and she's one of these people who you just ask one question and she just can talk and give loads of wonderful, anecdotes. She's a brilliant writer. And so I'm really looking forward to reading The Darkest Evening.
Oh, well, that's a lovely title, isn't it?
Isn't it? And another one which I can't not mention, really, because it's been all over the news, Richard Osman.
Yes.
The very talented Richard Osman, and his debut called The Thursday Murder Club. Now, this is cosy crime, and I don't know about you, Laurie, but I like a bit of cosy every now and again.
I think certainly when you've had a lot of the suspense and the thrillers, going to a bit of cosy crime is a really nice genre, I think, to slip into. And
definitely,
it's just so funny, and I'm just imagine that book is filled with his humour, which I do find very funny. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
Well, especially after the year we've had and the year we're still having, I think we do need a bit of escape, don't we? I was going to read the blurb because it sounds brilliant. And it's got older characters, which is lovely. In a peaceful retirement village, 4 unlikely friends meet up once a week to investigate unsolved murders. But when a brutal killing takes place on their very doorstep, the Thursday Murder Club find themselves in the middle of their first live case. Elizabeth, Joyce, Ibrahim and Ron might be pushing 80, but they've still got a few tricks up their sleeves. Can our unorthodox but brilliant group catch the killer before it's too late? Sounds fabulous, doesn't it?
Does sound amazing. Yeah, can't wait for that one.
And I was looking at some of the reviews for it, and one of them just really made me roar with laughter. It was Belinda Bauer, and you know, the very talented crime writer Belinda Bauer, whose quote was, and I think this is a fabulous author quote, it was, "I laughed my arse off."
Perfect quote. What more could you want?
What more could you want? I mean, I don't know about you, Laurie, but I get sent lots of proofs to read, and sometimes when I really like a book and I supply a quote, I agonise over these quotes, and I think, how can I come up with a sentence that, you know, encapsulates everything about this novel and that it sounds good and original? And I think in future I'm going to be more Belinda, I think, and if I get sent a scary novel, I'll just say, you know, it scared me shitless, Lesley Cara, job done. You know.
Good enough. I'd buy it with that.
Yeah, I think so. So that's the Thursday Murder Club. That sounds brilliant. The next one that caught my eye is by Nikki French. Now, Nikki French is a husband and wife writing team, and their latest is called The House of Correction. And that, again, has had some great reviews. It sounds really good. I love this one. Perhaps this will become a thing, reading out author quotes. Great writing, razor-sharp plotting and powerful characterisation. I was 100 pages in before I even drew breath, says Cara Hunter. Crikey, she's got some lung capacity on her there.
Yeah.
But husband and wife team, I mean, could you envisage writing a book with your husband, Laurie?
I don't even think I can cook a dinner with my husband, to be honest, or do anything together. As we're more a you do this and I do that kind of team. But I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't know if I could share my writing with anyone, especially not my husband, because he's not really a writer or a reader. But even if it was someone who was quite similar to me, I still would feel hard, I think, giving that control away from me. It's my baby, and they do feel like that, don't they? But
yes,
I don't know how. I don't know, maybe it's lovely, maybe you can share the burden and share that fear of that white page, but for me, I can't imagine it. It would have to be it'd probably have to be quite a special project, I think, to convince me to work on something together.
Yes, it obviously works for Nikki Gerard and Sean French, because they've been highly successful. I think I have a very good, strong relationship with my husband, but I think if we were writing a novel together, I think it's fairly certain that by the end of chapter 3, one of us would be filing for divorce.
I can completely agree with that. And it's so interesting the way that two writers can work together as well. Because I do remember speaking to a couple of authors who worked as a writing team, and one did the dialogue and one did the description, and then they put it all together. And I think that's a really interesting way. I don't know if you would do every other chapter, or if you would choose the bit that you're perhaps strongest at, but it's a really, really interesting idea. I think we should get them on. I think
we should. That would be a bit of a coup, wouldn't it? Getting them on.
Let's pick their brain, see how they do it. Maybe we're missing out on something.
But talking about co-authoring, another book I read recently, which is due out today, if you imagine this is Thursday the 3rd of September, which it will be when we go live, is Private Moscow by James Patterson and Adam Hamdy. And now I think it should be by Adam Hamdy and James Patterson, because, H comes before P. No offence, James Patterson. He's probably not watching, so I don't think we should worry. He might be, but you never know. It's very unlikely, isn't it, that James Patterson is tuning in.
Hi, James, if you are watching.
If you are, yes, sorry, but, Adam's name should come first. Now, Adam Hamdy is the author of Black 13 and the Pendulum trilogy, and so he's now teamed up with James Patterson. And it's such an exciting book. I mean, what did I say? I said exhilarating high-stakes action set in sub-zero temperatures, but so fast-paced you won't have time to feel the chill. Took me ages to come up with that.
Oh, that's very good, though. I like that.
But I think maybe it's easier to co-author with James Patterson than it is with one's own spouse.
Yes, I think you could be right there.
So, who's caught your eye, Laurie?
Oh
in
yes,
the
I've seen
new...
a few books I'd like to mention, and the first one is a book called All in Her Head by Nikki Smith, which is out on the 17th of September. And I read that after I got a proof of that at the Harrogate Book Festival, the Crime Writing Festival, and it just blew me away. A really different style of psychological suspense. So that's one that I think is definitely one to watch for. What else did I have? Trevor Wood has got The Man on the Street. That's coming out as well on the 3rd of September. I haven't read it yet, but it's on my list. I'm really excited about it. It's considered to be the most exciting crime debut of the year, and introduces a unique and unforgettable character, a homeless ex-veteran who becomes a reluctant investigator when he witnesses a crime. So it just sounds really great to have that different kind of character, and I've heard a lot of people say great things about it, so it's one I'm really looking forward to. And then Emma Rowley has got You Can Trust Me coming out on the 3rd, and that's her, which is today. Happy Publication Day, Emma. That's her second book, and I am a huge fan of Emma's writing. Her first book, Where the Missing Go, really, really blew me away, and she's certainly come back fighting with book 2 as well. So it's a tight psychological thriller about a ghostwriter tasked with writing the autobiography of a woman desperate to bury a deadly secret. And I just raced through it. Absolutely a phenomenal read for me. So definitely another one to watch out for there.
And of course, there's a rather good psychological thriller coming out today called One Step Behind.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about that, Laurie?
Yes. So One Step Behind is a novel about a woman called Jenna, who is a wife, a mother, and a doctor. And she's also the victim of a very vicious and unknown stalker who is tormenting her life, and is really... You meet Jenna at the start of the book, and she's really pushed to the point of a breakdown by this horrible man doing horrible things to her, and she has no idea who he is, and she has no idea why he's doing these things. And then very quickly into the book, the tables really turn when the man is brought into her hospital, and she has to treat him, and it becomes a question for her on how many lines she's willing to cross to take back control of her life, and to sort of get her own back a bit maybe, and to find out really what's all behind it. So that is set in fictional Southend-on-Sea, I'm really in the middle of a heat wave, so it's all that claustrophobic heat. I'm really excited about it. I'm really glad to see it out in the world.
Oh, it's a fantastic read. I've read your book and absolutely loved it. It's brilliant. So highly recommended. But how does it feel, emotionally bringing out a book on the busiest day of the year so far? I mean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think to start with, when I first found out about the autumn crash, I was worried and I think quite anxious. And I think there is this feeling that all that hard work is going to be for nothing, because no one's going to even know your book's out. You're not going to make any sales, and what impact is it going to have on your career going forward? So there were all these fears and worries, and I think I am a type of person who could easily get caught up in all that anxiety. So I often have to give myself a bit of talking to about what's in my control, and I think there is very little in our control as authors. The only thing really that we can do is write the books and try and make them good books. So that's what I've been focusing on over the last few months, to really try not to worry too much about it. But I do know that it's a horrible time for everybody in the same boat, and I've been speaking to a lot of authors who are also coming out on the 3rd of September or over September and October, and they're in a much less fortunate position to me, because my book was always coming out on the 3rd, and then these 599 other books have just hopped on board my day. Whereas a lot of people have been in positions where their books were due to come out during lockdown. They had panel events planned, they had book tours planned, and all that has just become nothing. And now they're seeing their book come out in this big crushing wave of books, and they're not doing anything because they just can't. I think that's really hard.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you've got debut authors who've been working really hard to get to this one book, and it could be a one book deal in many cases. And they're really concerned that it could be their one shot and it could be lost. So there is a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear out there. But on the positive side, what's come out of it is this really fantastic rallying of authors together. So there's a hashtag, which is hashtag 3rd of September. And there's lots going on to try and support each other. There's lots of virtual events happening, which sort of rose up during lockdown. So I took part in Virtual Noir at the Bar last week, which I think you've done as well.
Yes, that's great fun. Now that's that's run by Vic. Do you know, I only know her as Vic Peanuts. That can't be her name, but that's her Twitter handle. Is it Simon Buick and Vic? I don't.
Yeah, Vic Watson, I think.
Vic Watson. Oh, sorry. Apologies, Vic, if you're watching, listening. You're not called Vic Peanuts. I mean, they're brilliant.
So yeah, there's things going on and ways to connect with readers online, which has really come out of lockdown, which is fantastic. And there's also Facebook book groups like the Motherload, which are doing a huge spotlight on authors during this time. So there's certainly things going on, and it's really, I think, great to see the positives. We are all in the same boat, and publishers are in the same boat with us. And we all just got to rally around and do what we can.
And I noticed there's something, I think it starts on, well, it will be yesterday, Wednesday the 2nd of September, Diary of a Debut Novelist, which is something that Emma Christie has organised. It's, I think it's a Zoom, and all debut novelists will be talking about their journey to publication. And that's going to take place each Wednesday in September. I think so. On Facebook. I think in conjunction with, is it New Caledonia Novel Award or something? I'll put that on the Twitter account and get the details of that. But yes, so Emma Christie's novel is The Silent Daughter, and that comes out, I think, same day as yours.
Yes, and I've just finished reading it actually.
Oh, have you?
It's a really good one. Yeah, definitely worth a read.
But I think you're right, Laurie. I mean, writers have to be, this year particularly, really innovative about how they market themselves, don't they? I mean, I feel really sorry because from my point of view, I had such a wonderful year as a debut novelist, with so many brilliant events, and it was like a dream come true. And I feel very sad for particularly for debut novelists. But I think that they, it's not just about one book, is it? It's about a long-term career. And as you said, Laurie, the only thing we have total control over as writers is the writing, and we just have to throw ourselves into writing and doing more online events until such time as things get back to normal. And I'm sure we will return to real life events eventually. We have to believe that, don't we? Hopefully. I mean,
Zoom is such a great thing. So,
it is.
But and we can stay in our pajamas, can't we? But
do you know, when lockdown first started, I hated doing videos and things, and everyone was FaceTiming me, and I thought, oh God, I couldn't stand it. I thought, why don't they just pick up the phone? Zoom meetings and FaceTime. And I was put off FaceTime right in the beginning when my first of all got my iPad, and my son FaceTimed me, and I didn't really know what it was, and I just sort of opened it up, and there he was, and he went, "Oh God, you look rough, Mum," and I thought, "Oh God, I don't like this." But we're all quite used to it now, aren't we? We've become Zoom aficionados, really, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so. It's exactly as you say. People who I wasn't speaking to before lockdown suddenly are organising phone chats, and I did a house party, which sort of tried to launch somewhere, but I think Zoom took over a bit there. And even my mum's on Zoom now, so I think that's that shows the popularity of it. She's not one for the technological side of things. So it has been great, but I do really hope things get back to normal very soon.
I mean, there was a good online event called the Locked Up Festival that I think Steve Kavanagh and Luca Vesti organised as the two crime writers and a microphone, and that was brilliant because there were some really good panellists, and it was very irreverent and funny, and that was great. And I think I saw somewhere that the Bloody Scotland is going ahead as a purely virtual event this September. I think is it the 17th? When's that on? Yes. Yeah, Bloody Scotland is I think that's going to be at the 17th of September, and tickets are free, which apart from the masterclasses, and that's going to be great. There's a really.
Are you doing anything on it? Because you went to Bloody Scotland last year. You were on the event something.
I was on the what was I on last year? I was on the Alex Gray's New Crime panel, and that was fantastic. I had such a lovely time, and where it takes place in Stirling, it's such a beautiful town. It was my first ever experience of Bloody Scotland, so it's such a shame that it won't be going ahead, in this, but it is going ahead, but it's going to be virtual, but hopefully it will be back again next year.
I've got my fingers crossed for Harrogate for July next year. I've got my little house booked now.
Have you?
Yeah, I've stayed at my little house. I really got my fingers crossed for that one.
It was so disappointing, wasn't it, when Harrogate was cancelled? I mean, we knew it would be, but it was that weekend.
It was the right thing to do, and we all have to do what's the right thing at the moment, don't we? But yeah, Absolutely. It doesn't stop the disappointment.
Absolutely, no. Gosh. Well, what else have we got to say? I mean, we've been wittering on, haven't we? I don't even know how long we've been recording. But
I don't know either. But we should talk quickly about what we're both doing at the moment, writing-wise. We haven't done that.
Okay.
So you go first, Lesley. Where are you up to?
Where am I up to? Well, I've just finished my third novel, The Dare, which is coming out next March. That's gone off for typesetting, and that's a huge relief because I was trying to finish that during lockdown, and I found it really difficult to do. I had to ask for an extension to my deadline, which I hate doing. I hate doing that because I'm a bit of a goody two-shoes. I like to be, the girl who meets the deadlines. And for the first time I couldn't, and I hated that. But I just, I think like so many people, it was so distracting, wasn't it? The news and everything going on, and I just couldn't get into writing. But somehow I ploughed through that, and so that's done now. And Who Did You Tell was number 9 in the Sunday Times top 10. So I couldn't believe that. And it was only there for a week, but what a week it was!
Still a week. Don't say only a week. It was there a week.
I was thrilled. I know. I was absolutely thrilled and totally surprised because I had no idea it would get there. So that was a huge and wonderful surprise. And so now I'm at the stage of starting the next one. I haven't actually started writing it yet, but I'm being a proper planner this time. I'm taking a leaf out of your book, Laurie, and I've got a table, not an Excel spreadsheet. This is a Word table because that's about the extent.
I'm all for a Word table, yeah.
That's the extent of my technological capabilities. And I've got the sort of first... I think I've got about 10 chapters on there at the beginning, the first 10 chapters and the last 3. And then I'm looking at that big white space in the middle and trying to sort of fill in all the boxes. So, yes, I'm meant to be starting writing that very soon. But
exciting.
So what about you? Where are you at?
So I had a similar situation with the start of lockdown. I think like so many people really struggled to focus, and I had sort of that extra fun of homeschooling my 2 children, as well as checking the BBC News app every 5 minutes to see what was going on. But I think we quite quickly, within a few weeks, have all settled down to it. And I made a conscious effort to stop looking at the news as nothing was changing. And that really helped. And then I found my groove a bit. And I wrote during lockdown my 3rd Lauren North book, which then went off to my editor and has now returned with some structural edits, which are not too painful. So I'm going to get out that table that I put together in Word to start with, which you'll find really useful for edits, because then you get it back out and then you start making notes on what needs to change, and it's all like there in the list of the breakdown. That's how I do it anyway. Very, very nerdy when it comes to planning. So yeah, that's what I'll be working on now for the next few weeks. So it's
fantastic.
in the back of my head for the next book, but I'm not ready yet to start thinking about that yet. One book at a time kind of person. So
yeah. Okay, well, I think we'll probably draw this first episode to a close shortly, shall we?
I don't think I said anything stupid either. I think I've done all right.
I don't think we've made a complete tit of ourselves, but we'll know that when we watch the video back.
If we have, please feel free not to tell us.
Yes. Don't tag us in any of those reviews. But if you are watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe to our channel. That would be lovely. And I think you can also hear the podcast on, is it Apple and Spotify?
Yeah, and Spotify, yeah, and a few other places. Once I've got my head round all the technology on that side, I will be more able to share that information. So next time I'll have all of that.
And we've got a Twitter account called in Suspense Pod, so do follow us on that for further updates and to send any questions or anything you'd like us to talk about. We will be broadcasting again in 2 weeks' time, and we have got a very special guest, quite a big name that we are very lucky to have. We're not going to tell you who it is though, because why is that, Laurie?
Well, we're going to keep you
in suspense.
And on that note, we will say goodbye. So thank you very much for listening, and see you soon.
See you soon. Bye. Bye.